state of Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, chunks of Iowa, chunks of the UP, Montana, but here locally, as far as the Milwaukee viewing area, this goes into effect at midnight tonight and continues all the way through 10 o'clock Sunday morning. And that's for morning wind chills both Saturday and Sunday between -20 and -30. So this really is some dangerous cold. It only takes about 15 to 30 minutes for exposed skin out in wind chills like this to experience frostbite.
Right. And, it's very important to watch little kids. They don't necessarily feel it until maybe it's too late. And, of course, your pets. We're going to keep Marty in, and I'm sure you'll keep Peta in.
Hates the cold, hates the snow.
Well, she's a tiny little dog, so even an inch of snow is like trudging through a snowbank for her.
Exactly, but they might need the extra blanket even inside.
Yeah, no doubt. I think they're going to find a warm spot to curl up, and you should probably do the same. Coming up after our first break, we'll be joined actually by Cameron Miller from the National Weather Service to talk about the cold weather advisory. We'll dig a little bit deeper into the bigger pattern and what's going on with the local range and the long range trends, and also just kind of dig into a relatively new way of advising people about cold air. It's only, I think, our second winter season dealing with the new advisory and cold weather warning. So we'll get into that coming up. We've also been following breaking news all morning long in Muskego, where firefighters are responding to a large fire at Bass Bay Brew House. Look at this video. We have to give it up to our photojournalist, Jeff Frings, who was out there this morning taking care of this. And extreme cold doesn't just make firefighting hard, it can actually slow everything down about the process when it comes to freezing weather. You've got hydrants and hose lines that can ice up. That delays their getting their first attack on the fire. Water on the ground then, of course, turns into an ice rink, making every step dangerous for the firefighters. The cold also takes a toll on the bodies of the firefighters, with frostbite a possibility, certainly exhaustion earlier because your body has to work so much harder in the cold air, and then you've got heavy ice-coated gear on top of all of that. Equipment can also fail, frozen pumps, cracked hoses, snow-packed roads are obviously an issue, particularly in this more rural spot stuff. This is it's a beautiful place. I've been there a few times, gorgeous scenery right along the edge of the water there, but it's a difficult area to get to even when you just want to go for dinner. Obviously firefighters had an additional burden there, and then the roads made that even harder in the winter. And in the winter, a small fire can grow pretty quickly because sprinklers sometimes and standpipes, things like that, can become frozen. You've got extreme cold, of course, with every fire making things more dangerous, and every second counts. So tragic story this morning, and hopefully kind of a heads up to be mindful of that going into this cold stretch as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And thankfully, everybody was evacuated from that building. So thankfully that was, the one positive.
The one positive, The restaurant's been there since, I think, the 1950s. So it's a long-standing part of that Muskego community. And obviously we wish the best as to whatever the next chapter is.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with fresh snow and frosty mornings, it is important to take some extra time each morning to scrape off your car windshield if you park outside. Now, a driver stopped in Jefferson County, didn't even try to clear their window. Are you kidding me?
That's their Palmyra front window. How are you seeing out of that?
I don't know. Palmyra Public Safety posted these pictures to Facebook. An officer stopped the car that had both its front and rear windshield completely packed with snow and ice. That driver obviously got a ticket and probably a new appreciation for ice scrapers. I mean, your windshield wipers aren't even going to work. They're going to be frozen over.
It doesn't even look like they tried because they're not even disturbed as far. I mean, I'm guilty of doing a not so great job of clearing my windshield.
You kind of do one side of it.
Right. But you have to at least make an effort to, clear enough to be safe. Ideally, clear it right off. Spend the extra 2 minutes, and you'll be a lot later to work if you get in an accident, heaven forbid.
Exactly.
Obviously, that wasn't the case here, but it's a good way to illustrate the point. Now, down in Chicago, the Sun-Times there says the city has been seeing quite a few service calls this year to start their snow season, a lot more than the same period in any other year since 2019. The 311 data there shows that the service received more than 12,000 snow-related complaints from November 1st just through December 10th. Nearly half of the complaints were for uncleared sidewalks. Hey, clear sidewalks.
I know.
Like
Otherwise
yesterday.
Ice.
Well,
Pure
absolutely.
ice.
And that is a very, very hazardous situation
Yes.
for everybody. And we talked about yesterday clearing out around the mailboxes.
Yes, yes, absolutely, for our postal workers, because we don't want them to slip on ice.
No, and you want your mail?
Yeah,
All the good stuff
exactly.
comes
I
this
know,
time
right,
of year.
exactly. We want the cards,
Might be
the
bills the
gifts.
rest of the year. But
Now's the time
right.
to clear the sidewalks.
Amazon packages, something might be in there.
All right, well, while we deal with snow here in Wisconsin, Washington State is dealing with more heavy rain that's pushing rivers across the state over their banks. You can just see this video footage here. As Fox's William Lajeunesse explains, tens of thousands of people could be forced to evacuate.
An atmospheric river dropping torrential rain across the Pacific, causing catastrophic flooding in Washington State.
It's supposed to reach another like 3 feet. So I'm just hoping my house doesn't go in the river.
Up to 18 inches of rain falling in the Cascade and Olympic Mountain regions in just 3 days, with multiple rivers overflowing. Water rescues already taking place. The governor declaring a statewide emergency, warning as many as 100,000 residents could face evacuation orders.
A level 3 activation is a go now, meaning there isn't a lot of time to get out. So people need to just take the necessities and get up to higher ground as quickly as possible.
In one county north of Seattle, everyone within the 100-year floodplain was ordered to immediately leave.
The flooding levels we're looking at are potentially historic in nature. And so we just want to emphasize how serious the situation is.
But as many try to evacuate, flooded rivers are forcing road closures. Wednesday night, a landslide blocked part of a major interstate, trapping cars in debris and standing water. The state is now deploying hundreds of National Guard members to help communities.
Everybody's getting a little nervous this time. They weren't anticipating it coming up this much, this quick.
An estimated 5 trillion gallons of rain have fallen across Washington state this past week, with more in the forecast. In Los Angeles, William Lajeunesse, Fox News.
Incredible video there.
Yeah.
That landslide, very scary.
Very.
Yeah, and then I can't even imagine being a homeowner worried about your home just floating away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thinking about those folks for sure. All that heavy rain and the floodwaters actually caused the Snoqualmie Falls in Washington state to magnify.
Wow,
Check this out.
look at that.
It just became massive in size on Thursday. This is now being called a catastrophic flooding event. You can see why right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And switching gears a little bit now, Mount Hood in Oregon, normally home to some of the best skiing in the country. But this year, the resorts are all closed because there is no snow, which is really crazy because there are a lot of other spots that have a ton of snow out west.
Yeah.
So this time last year, they already had a 40-inch base. So hopefully that switches for them soon.
Yeah, no doubt, because it's one of the top spots
It
to
is,
go.
yeah.
Right? But it's been a dry start to the ski season in the Sierras as well. The forecast has been the same all week. They obviously have a bit more of a base there. But the most important thing for anybody who might be planning a trip, a ski trip, is that you need to know there's been no new snow over the last week, and nothing's in the forecast for them this weekend. Earlier on in the mornings, with our sister station there, spoke with Kevin Cooper at South Lake Tahoe, talked to that station about the tough early season conditions, the lack of the snowy weather, and how resorts there are adapting.
You know, in reality, this is a tough December for sure. So everybody's making that shape shifting right now. And really what's happening, you got to think about the hours for the waiters and the waitresses, the cooks and all that. Restaurants, lodging, and the resorts, those hours are getting cut back. But we always keep the stoke level high, and we always look at the future. We're looking at not this weekend, we're looking at next week. We're looking at a change in the forecast. Mountain operations teams are not giving up.
There you go.
Yeah, well, he went on to say that businesses are ready to host visitors, and as soon as the weather is right, resorts will start blowing snow again for skiers. This weekend, though, that will be a bit of a challenge. Yeah. So it's interesting to see the extremes we have, all the snow, all the cold, and then the no snow and the flooding. So it's an interesting situation we're in on a nationwide perspective. But let's drill down a little bit and focus on our region.
Yeah, we got to talk about the cold. I know we mentioned it at the top of the show, but let's get into that again. So just a reminder, we have this cold weather advisory. Think wind chill advisory. This is just that new terminology. And again, we'll kind of focus on this after the break with Cameron from the National Weather Service, but cold weather advisory for all of our area, midnight tonight through 10 a.m. on Sunday. And this is for the potential during our morning hours, both weekend days, of -20 to about -30. So really some dangerous cold settling in. And we are actually going to see sub-zero wind chills starting tonight all the way through Monday afternoon. So that entire time frame is going to be pretty cold. And you can see, again, we're in good company. Much of these northern states, Montana to Wisconsin and the UP, under either this cold weather advisory or the warning in far northeastern parts of Montana. And we can see all of that cold. Yesterday it was still up in Canada, but now it is across the Dakotas. Fargo has an air temperature right now of 2 below, and it's inching its way into parts of Minnesota. Now it's 25 right now in Milwaukee, but this is the last of that for at least the next couple of days. Temperatures from here as a cold front rolls in, you'll notice tonight, continue to tumble. The entire state will likely wake up to air temperatures below zero by morning and then barely climb above zero for high temperatures tomorrow afternoon. We're right back below zero heading on into Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, we should get closer to about 10 degrees for a high temperature, but still very cold. And look at wind chills. I mean, some northern parts of the state could be colder than 30 below. And towards the south, certainly wind chills of 20 below. And then we stay below zero all throughout Saturday, see a brutal Sunday morning again with some of these numbers in the 20s and 30s below, and then also stay below zero throughout the day. So again, I know the mornings will be the coldest, but these are precautions we need to take all the way into Monday afternoon because again, we're going to continue to see this cold or at least these wind chills below zero until later on into the day Monday. Now we have a chance for some light snow here in Wisconsin as well as the cold front moves through. It's not much. There's a stronger system out towards the west, and that's actually tracking southeast, just like yesterday's storm. So that could more so impact Iowa and Illinois later tonight and on into Saturday, kind of zooming in on it for you here right now. It's impacting parts of Montana as well as South Dakota, northern Nebraska. It just goes to show, a couple days ago, we had a couple of different Clipper systems that could potentially impact us here. Yesterday stayed south, and now it looks like Saturday, it may very well stay south as well. There are winter headlines too as that storm system continues to move southward throughout the night tonight. You'll notice again, we are not in that. Taking you through the rest of Friday, though, we still have the chance for at least a few flurries, light snow showers later on today and tonight. Otherwise, you can see that snow dipping south into parts of Iowa and Illinois. Now, that being said, I do think it'll get pretty close to the Wisconsin-Illinois border, so it's not out of the question for some of those communities far south to see at least a little bit of snow out of that. Otherwise, we clear back out after that system, so sunshine is in the forecast for Sunday. But again, it's really all about the cold heading into both Saturday as well as Sunday. The most bizarre part about this forecast is that we have 2 dangerously cold days, and then by the middle of next week, we could hit 40 degrees. So thankfully, this is relatively brief, but these are temperatures that are 30 degrees below average for this time of year. Still cold Monday. And then, yes, we are eyeing a warm up and potentially above average for the first time this month as those highs potentially hit 40, both Wednesday as well as Thursday. So a lot going on weather-wise, but again, stay safe this weekend. Now, coming up after the break, again, we're going to talk to Cameron from the National Weather Service. Stick around for that. Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. You know, the theme of this show, the theme of the weekend is the extreme cold that's building into not just southeast Wisconsin, I mean, the entire state.
Right, and we've got some new challenges, of course, with that because it is a big shift for us, but it's also coming after some recent snowfalls and a bit of a milder day. So now a lot of that slushy, wet stuff that we had a few days back is frozen solid. So to dig a little deeper into all this cold air and peel back some of the layers of this Arctic blast, we've invited National Weather Service meteorologist Cameron Miller to join us. Thank you so much for coming on Wisconsin Weather Experts today.
Yeah, great to be here.
All right, well, let's dive right in with the most obvious thing, because some of our viewers might not be familiar yet with the new cold weather headlines. This is really only the second season with the new title. So break that down for us if you can.
Yeah, so basically as part of some hazard simplification that the Weather Service has done, we've funneled everything from a wind chill advisory and wind chill warnings and watches over to cold weather advisories and extreme cold warnings and watches as well. So what we have this weekend is a cold weather advisory. So we're looking at temperatures between -20 to -30. So what's going to happen tonight into Saturday morning is wind chills between -20 to -25. And then what we have going on Saturday into Sunday morning is wind chills between -25 and -30. So well within that cold weather advisory criteria.
And that's important because of the potential for frostbite and what those extreme wind chills do to our body. Can you kind of go through how that impacts us and why it's so important to cover up in wind chills that cold?
Yeah, absolutely. So what typically happens is we have when we have our skin exposed to the air, we have like a protective layer of warm air that's kind of around our skin. And what happens with strong winds and the cold temperatures is we get something that happens that basically cools our skin. Think of it like almost like evaporative cooling, kind of like what happens during the summer when you sweat and then, you know, the air basically kind of dries your skin and cools your skin as a result. Same thing happens in the winter, but what happens with the wind is it removes that protective layer of warm air that kind of surrounds your skin during the winter. So you begin to feel cold temperatures, you begin to feel the effects from the cold air. And as a result of having that warm air removed from your skin cools down a lot quicker and you're exposed to frostbite a lot quicker as well.
I think it's important to note too that, you know, frostbite and wind chill, those things apply to animals too. So farmers, you know, pet owners, they have to be mindful of that for their animals as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's why you'll see a lot of farmers try to supplement with like little coats that they put on animals out there. I see that with horses every time I drive out here to this office. So.
And what about the criteria for a warning? I saw the potential, you know, for it to be a little bit colder up in northern Wisconsin. What would actually cross the advisory to be upgraded into a warning?
Yeah, so it kind of varies by geographical region based upon how much exposure some geographic areas have to certain temperatures throughout the year. So places a little bit further north, they have a little bit more stringent criteria. Mm-hmm. Here in southern Wisconsin, anytime we see temperatures below or wind chills below -30, that's when we're crossing into an extreme cold warning for temperatures there for wind chills and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. And we're not quite there. We might see the occasional wind chill in that range, but probably not for a long enough duration for you to, at this point anyway, consider a warning, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And I did have a viewer actually write in when they saw the information we were putting out there, asking about the differences between a watch and a warning. And of course, we know the answer to that, but I'll let you handle that because they were confused because the criteria was the same, but it had two different titles. Obviously, there is a big difference there.
Sure. Yeah. So usually when we're talking about a watch, we're thinking, okay, a couple days out, maybe anywhere from 36 to 48 hours out, we see some potential for temperatures, wind chills, and whatnot to kind of reach, criteria for an extreme cold warning potentially. But we're not quite there yet on confidence levels. So we'll put out a watch, and that basically tells people to be on the watch for these conditions to be, occurring in the future. And then once we kind of reach a confidence level where we're pretty confident that wind chills are going to be reaching, an extreme cold criteria, we'll put out a warning. That means you've been warned. That means that you have to take action now that those temperatures are definitely going to reach that extreme cold warning criteria.
And would you say that this is maybe a little early to have some of this bitter cold? I know it's well below our seasonal average. I usually think of, and I think most Mets do, January for some of this really cold Canadian air to arrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I looked at some of the past data that we had for December, and looking back at winters since like 1932, about 50% of December see wind chills around -25. So, our criteria, we're about 50-50. So 50% of the winters that we've had since like we started recording back in 1932 will have, we'll touch the wind chills back down into like the 20 to -25 range there. So a little bit atypical, but 50-50. It's a roll of the dice from year to year.
There you go. So uncommon, but not rare.
Right.
But I think it is important to note, too, that, if you go back to 1932, it becomes, more of a 50-50. But our recent winters have definitely softened us up. We have not had that cold Arctic blast in a few years.
Correct. Yeah, we've had pretty warm winters the past couple of years. So this is definitely the earliest shot of cold air that we've had for a while. Usually we're getting into our first cold weather advisories, at least over the past couple of winters. Wind chill advisories as well. We just recently switched, but usually we get into those in January.
There you go.
Wow, interesting stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Cameron. We appreciate it. We'll maybe give you a call back when things warm up and we can talk about some warmer weather topics, all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, stay safe. Thank you again for joining us. We'll be back. We have more Wisconsin weather experts in just a couple of minutes.
back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We're going back in history now.
Yeah, got to go back to 1960. It was this week in 1960 that the Northeast was digging out. The December 1960 storm wasn't just a localized blizzard either. It was a huge nor'easter that hammered the East Coast for days. From the 10th through the 14th, they had snow, they had ice. It shut down power, shut down travel, led to dozens of deaths. Obviously, this gentleman getting innovated with his travel. But yes, tragically, it was a deadly winter storm. New York City picked up 17 inches, Boston at 13, Philly near 15, and northern New Jersey was buried under more than 21 inches of snow. Millions stranded, roads a mess. North Carolina mountains saw feet of snow, measuring it in feet there, with drifts to 35 feet. The National Guard even had to step in with helicopter rescues during what turned into weeks of winter misery.
I couldn't even imagine New York City with that much snow on the ground.
Yeah, no doubt.
17 inches?
Yeah, it must have taken forever to clear out, because where do you put it? It's not like here where you can just plow it into the ditch.
Right, exactly, and I'm sure the plows weren't that great at that point.
I would imagine, yeah. I mean, 1960 was, at least they had motorized plows, unlike, maybe a few decades earlier where it was like horse and plow.
Right, exactly.
So,
you just
but
stay at
still,
home.
what a mess. We don't have that this weekend. We do have the cold. Please stay safe. We want to hear you back at the next edition of Wisconsin Weather Experts.
The Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Friday on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh hanging out with you for the next 90 minutes. Sam Kramer will be with you for the second half of our show today here on Fox Local, the Fox 6 Milwaukee YouTube channel, maybe online, fox6now.com. However you're joining us here on this Friday, thanks for checking out Fox Local and the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is where we can bring you all the news as it happens from around our stretch of southeastern Wisconsin and, of course, around the country and even sometimes the world. We'll give you a quick whip around on a very cold day, 25 degrees in downtown Milwaukee, but this is warm by what's coming tomorrow. And we will get updates from our weather experts, who you just heard from a bit there on Fox Local, about the dangerous levels of cold coming to town this weekend. But then a quick turnaround